even though I was going to school, getting education, the influence of my environment and the influences of media basically still laid out a platform for what I was supposed to be or where I fit. Right. And so as I evolved and I went to college, I went to high school, I began to learn that a lot of the things that we learn in media is bullshit.
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. It's Dr. G, and we are back for another episode of the amazing place where you learn how to face your fear and emerge victoriously. Today, we have Lacey, and Lacey is going to tell us all about what she's up to and who she is.
Hi, good to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Lacey C. Clark, and I am an advocate for self-love and personal empowerment for women and girls globally. And I love this concept of, being fearless and stepping into, what fearless freedom means. And so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So you have to let the audience know who you are, what you're up to, all of that.
Okay, so my company is called Sister Sanctuary. Again, I do personal empowerment with young women and girls around the world. I've spoken, I'm a speaker. I do workshops, seminars, summits in reference to and edifying self-love and helping young women and women understand what it is to be, I guess, keeping fear from themselves and being all that they can be, phenomenal everywhere, phenomenally them, all of that good stuff.
Awesome. So how did you get started with this work?
So I actually grew up as an insecure teenager in North Philadelphia, and I didn't quite understand my value and worth. Didn't understand what I had to offer the world, and specifically in a heavy media climate, they tell you as a brown-skinned Black girl, your value and worth is very little, and you're not enough. You're not fill in the blanks about what enough means in that era, and so I struggled. And in that struggle, I made a lot of unhealthy decisions and choices and, wanted validation from people outside of myself and all those things. And then I got to a point where I discovered who I was as I grew, and I started to love myself, value my image, value my contributions and my gifts. And from there, I saw that there were girls who were coming up after me who were struggling in the same way. And so ultimately I decided to say, well, how can I give back and how can I help them kind of know that there's a path, not say easier path, but a path that can be fulfilling for them and they don't have to struggle in the same ways that are generational, specifically for Black folks in America.
Okay. Yeah. So it must have been pretty intense for you having gone through that rougher road to be able to turn around and then go back and face those same, let's call them demons, and help somebody else. How did you manage to do that?
I think, looking at, like when you look at yourself, the whole concept of what I stand on is self-love. And so I think looking at self and getting freedom from those things that kept you in bondage or kept you, weighted down or kept you in a box, if you will, so to say. When you learn to get freedom from that, I think it's easier just to talk about that journey because that journey it's a part of you, but it doesn't define you. And so I think that's the biggest piece is I wouldn't say it was, I think the journey of getting free is the biggest weight or getting freer. And then I think that once you get freer, then sharing that story becomes lighter and lighter because that weight is not weighing you down anymore.
Okay. And how did you get to the point where you felt like you were confident? Like, what were some of the things that you did that brought you there?
So one is recognizing my gifts and talents, knowing that I had a shine, had a sauce, had a phenomenality that was important to me and that became valuable to other people. One of that was speaking or learning how to communicate well. That was one. I actually went to school for theater. And so in going to school for theater and studying arts, I basically kind of honed that craft of communication. And so learning that I could actually do that really well made me feel proud to be able to have a gift to offer the world. And so in that offering that gift and having that opportunity to share that gift, I began to get more confidence. They say was that confidence comes from you knowing that you can actually come to the world with a gift and share it. And so I think I found that. Once I found that, I felt better about who I was. That's one of the ways that I kind of overcame the insecurities and the things that I had going on when I was younger.
Now, how did you get introduced to the theater?
I went to performing arts. So I went to a place called Freedom Theater in Philadelphia, for those who know Philadelphia. It was a Black performing arts school. And basically the intention was to not only just learn about arts and culture, but more so confidence and confidence building. And so that was something that was actually in my neighborhood. So I actually lived in North Philly. I'm from North Philadelphia, and Freedom Theater was in my neighborhood, but it was actually had global recognition. It was really powerful in terms of the type of artist it raised. But it was actually in North Philly. And so it was something that you knew about, but some people didn't access it because it cost a lot of money or money for that community, if you will. And so ultimately my father was one of the people who definitely invested in me at a young age to say, hey, put her on stage or put her, give her something to do that's actually constructive and progressive.
Okay. That's awesome. And then so you were exposed in this is high school, right? It's a high school program, or is it a college program?
Oh, no. It's high school and college. So basically it's college bound girls.
Okay. So your dad saw a spark in you. He saw where you no.
Oh no, you mean I'm sorry. You're talking about with the Freedom Theater. Is that what you're speaking about?
Yeah, because I actually like how did you get in young child. So this is like elementary
6 years old. Yes.
Okay, got it. So is this like a separate program, or is it an actual school, like a magnet school?
So I actually did go to a magnet school as well, but Freedom Theater was a actual after school weekend program.
I see. Okay, gotcha. So dad saw spark in you, and he got you into this theater like extracurricular program, and that helped to build your confidence. And so now you mentioned before though that so you basically were able to figure out early on what your gift was, right? Because you had this training all along.
Not really. No, not really. I would say that was something that I actually learned that strengthened me. But of course, along the growing years, 14, 13, 15 in high school, trying to still figure out who you are, how do you feel beautiful in your social environment? Like all those things didn't come together until later on in my life. So I would say later on, like high school, I would say maybe sophomore, junior year, these things came together. However, I always had this gift that was actually honed that I didn't know was a gift, that I didn't know was a shine until I was able to embrace it myself.
I see. So was there an event that occurred? So you said that, the epiphany happened later on, right? So it didn't happen. You didn't realize what you had as a child, even though it's being nurtured along the way by your dad sending you to this institution. But like you got to that point where in high school or somewhere around there where you had an epiphany. So what was that thing? Like, what was it? Because it had to be something that like made you realize, okay, I don't care what the media is saying about me. I don't care what my peers are saying about me. I am unique. I'm special. Like there was something that prompted that.
So go ahead. Mm-hmm. Did I cut you off?
No, I'm saying it's something that prompted that awakening, in
so
you.
what I'm saying is over the course of my life, a lot of what I do is really sparked from how media affects the minds of people, specifically young women and girls. And so media was very, very powerful in my life, meaning the images that I consumed with hip hop, especially at that time, hip hop, music videos, rap lyrics, all those images and these promptings had negative things to say about girls like me, right? And so even though I was going to school, getting education, the influence of my environment and the influences of media basically still laid out a platform for what I was supposed to be or where I fit. Right. And so as I evolved and I went to college, I went to high school, I began to learn that a lot of the things that we learn in media is bullshit. Excuse my French. I don't
Pretty
even curse
much.
on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So when I got clarity of that, when I started to read about my history, when I started to read about my culture, when I started to understand about the power of Black women, when I started to understand my own power, like this is when the epiphany came about, because I learned that the things that I was taught based on colorism, based on classism, based on racism. I mean, all these isms that we can put together and talk about how these things affect individuals. I feel like when I learned that a lot of these things were lies or actually taught to keep people suppressed, that's when I got free.
I see. See, this is what I was trying to get at, because I was trying to understand, like, well, when did it happen? Because in our lives, right, whenever we are on a pathway of, where we want to effect change, we have a very strong why, which it sounds like you do. There's always something that drives that. There's an event, or there's a set of events, or there's a time when you had a low, or you had something that was traumatic or impactful that directs you in this way. And so I was just trying to understand, like, where was that for you? Like, when was that? But it sounds like you were gradually coming to this point, and then maybe once you started like having the interest in the reality and not like what is contrived by the environment and media, that was when you discovered that you're not like this trope that's in the media, right? And then that was what kind of brought you to this point where you're like, well, I'm learning about this, and I am also able to let others know that they're not a trope either. Right. And so this is a thing, right? So it's like we all have that moment, and then there's some fear involved in that, right? Because now you're like, okay, I recognize that I'm not that person that's on Instagram or whatever. Well, I guess for us,
there was no Instagram back
hip hop. Yeah, I was gonna say there's not.
Yeah.
So like that person that's in, I don't know, Team Beat, or I forget what it was. Like there's like rap magazines or whatever. Like I'm not that person, or I'm not that person in there really wasn't like a urban teen magazine. But anyway,
there was a lot of. Go ahead. I get your point.
Was there urban teen magazine?
Yeah, you had what was it called? Rap Beat or something like that.
I thought that was like something Beat. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway,
there's a couple of
Beat
them.
magazine, whatever that was,
and even the Source back then too.
And the Source, right? Exactly. So these magazines, they have a very much a specific trope, right? It's like a misogynistic, right? It's very like hypersexualized woman, or whatever, objectified. So and then so you obviously look and you're like, what the heck? This is not real. I'm not like that. My friends aren't like that. Like, where are these people? Who are these people?
Right.
And so, but
and
then
who's also crafting these people? Who's making these people up?
Right. Because the tropes are deliberate. But there's a whole other story behind that. Get into that one. But then you have to speak out against that, right? So now you're basically coming out and you're speaking out against that. You're saying that trope is not who we are.
Right.
And so there has to be some fear along with that, right? Because you're not conforming. Whenever you don't conform, whenever you're saying something that is contrary to like what's put out there, the popular opinion, there is fear, right? Absolutely. So how did you touch that, come in contact with that? And how did you like get around that, get through that, step over it? How did you deal with that?
That's a great question. The way I see it, and you broke it down clearly, but the way I look at it, it's like swimming upstream. It's like, everybody's going downstream and you're like saying, okay, no, I'm going this way. I think, I don't know if I would say it was fear, but I would say it's definitely effort. It was, and I guess in that effort, that was heavy because it was like, right, everybody else is going this way. This is what they say you should do. This is how you should show up if you want to be in the in crowd, if you want to be hip, if you want to be down, if you want to be, and I was never really like the person that followed. So I guess I was always kind of like a person that was like, I don't like that. I want to do it this way. Like when everybody's wearing the red Reeboks, I had the pink ones. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like everybody had a certain kind of like, hip hop style. I would get maybe a Reeboks would be a different color, or I would kind of have my own way of kind of, freaking in or whatever, or putting it on. So I think I always kind of had a different way of seeing things, but I definitely think that there was a lot of effort in saying no and pushing back. But I think that when I actually did begin to speak out, when I started my company, Sister Sanctuary, there were people who agreed with me. So I had support. It's like, yeah, that's a bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I agree. Like that, yeah, it's crazy. And at that time, which is so crazy today, like at that time when I started my company, like people were really, just kind of getting over Little Kim, right? And how she came out on the scene and was like extremely explicit and like almost pornographic with her lyrics. And it was like to say, B and ho and all that kind of stuff was like, oh my God, that's horrible. But now it's like commonplace, which is crazy because like I saw the arc of how we were like fighting against it. Like, no, this is crazy. We shouldn't be talking to each other like this. We shouldn't define women like this. We shouldn't, and now it's just like, we accept it, so it's like scary. But anyway, the point is, to answer your points about fear, I think it was more so about it being weight that was like, I had to push through or like resistance, but then I had people that said, I agree with you and I want to support you. And so when they agreed with me and they wanted to support me, it got lighter.
I see. Okay, gotcha. Hey, it's Dr. G, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way, from sign up to launching your show, with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available. If you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show. No, that's good. That's good, right? Because I mean, you may not always think about that, but like your approach to something that seems like it at the time it may be an insurmountable task, that is very telling of not only your character, but also like it's an indicator for success, right? Because most people, when they're faced with a brick wall, guess what? They're not going to grab a sledgehammer. They're just going to turn around and go the other way, right? Like the other people, like yourself, will be like, well, okay, it's a brick wall. I'm gonna see, can I like look for a soft spot in it? Like, and then try to knock that part out and crawl through. Like, so this is the difference. And so when we recognize our fear and we actually like come up with an action plan, then we see success, right? I mean, obviously we're not talking about fears that require you to preserve yourself. Like, like there's a cliff there, don't jump off the cliff, right? That's a natural fear. But your approach to making this happen for the young women in your community, that's phenomenal, right? And your name is in there. It's in your name, right? Phenomenal everywhere. And so, that's really like the thing. I mean, and so if people are listening to you and if people are going to take even more drastic action to change the course of young women's lives, then they have to recognize that. They have to recognize that, like, it's not an easy thing to go against the grain. And then
Absolutely not.
and then to continue doing it, right? Because I mean, you just said like there's so many things that have been normalized that we're just kind of like, whatever,
Right.
like using the B word as like kind of a
Mm-hmm.
camaraderie type thing, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
like no, not even a big deal, and you
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like okay, the intensity of language sometimes and I'm not gonna, and in full disclosure, I do listen to like gangster rap too, so it's not like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my mind though, I am fully aware of
Mm-hmm.
the context of the songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so but
Mm-hmm.
I think that in a young mind where there's not that sophistication of thought because they just don't have the experience, or their frontal lobes is not developed well enough yet,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't able to. And so
Mm-hmm.
they become influenced kind of subliminally, right? And so
Heavily. Mm-hmm.
this is the thing that's kind of dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it that you're getting out there and you are working on changing the narrative. So now you got to tell us how exactly. So you mentioned speaking and you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the company. So you have to tell us like specifically, like, are there programs that people can enroll in? Is there a
Sure.
way that they can get in contact with you,
Sure.
like website, etc.?
Awesome, awesome question. And yeah, you're right. Young people are definitely influenced, and I definitely think that adults have, choice. I definitely think that we still are influenced by what we consume, no matter what it is. But I definitely think that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we have choice to say, I know that I'm engaging in this, and this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We're young people, it's kind of like this becomes my reality, my norm, my social reality, and I think that's a dangerous piece. So I have a program called Phenomenally You, which is the 8S empowerment program. And it takes this 8S's that walks young women through self-love process. And it helps them to not only be, safe, smart, successful in college, but in life. And so it's called Phenomenally You. Once again, it's an 8S empowerment program. And that is available at www.phenomenally-u.com. The intention of the program was really to help women create alternative narratives within themselves, so that they can actually navigate their world, whether their world is leaving high school or going to college, or leaving college and going to life, but be able to have a blueprint and a framework to really say, I could actually navigate my life with a lot more wellness and peace and health, and joy. So that's
Nice,
why I
nice.
developed Phenomenally You.
Okay. And then so with phenomenal with that site, just because people might
Phenomenally
be
You.
listening to this,
Mhm.
is it phenomenally
Dash You.
dash YOU, or you as in just you by itself?
You as in university. So
Okay.
Phenomenal
Gotcha.
University is the
Okay.
concept.
Yeah, because
Yes.
people aren't like at the
Thank you.
show notes, they can't tell, and they'll go look and they won't find it and they get
Okay.
frustrated. So
Got it.
let's
Got
not
it.
get them frustrated. Let's get them
Phenomenally
to your
dash
site. Yeah,
you.
let's get them
Thank
there so
you.
they could be participants, or supporters if not participants. Okay. And then so that is the program um
Mhm.
for the young ladies. And then so for your company, if people want to like reach out, offer you support, whatever, how can they reach you?
Oh, thank you. I'm on Instagram, Lacey C Clark. My name, LACEYCCLARK. Usually it comes with the explanation point, but they didn't give it to me on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Somebody else is there. Someone's doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. 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 Yeah, no, that's good
Thank you.
because it sounds like you're doing some incredible things. And there are definitely people who are listening who are interested in that type of thing, whether
Mhm.
it is support or whether it is referring people to you, So that's why it's always good to kind of talk about these things
Well,
and be involved.
I just want to, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. I have to cut you off.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
And I was going to say the whole thing about support is really, really powerful because, like I said, when I said nah, like this is bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Somebody else say, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree, and those yeah, I agree, definitely, becomes energy. And even though the industry and the powers that be and the machine that keeps creating this kind of chaos. There's a lot of impact that we did make for young women, even when we first started, to really be able to stand as leaders and actually make healthier impacts on their community as well. So we definitely move the dial to some degree.
Good. That's important.
We don't have the $1 billion budget.
Listen, it's the micro, it is the micro businesses, the micro economies that make all the difference, right? Because if you think about it, if you have enough people, I mean, that's a lot of when I don't know if you've ever heard of Kiva, but it's like this it's like a crowdsourced Kiva, Kiva. It's basically micro investments, right? So like you could give $50 and it will help somebody who is in another country to support their business for like a few months or something. But what I'm saying is like that, just having that support, like you mentioned, even if it's on a small scale, what happens is you have now empowered somebody else to then empower them, and those around them and their community. So you mentioned that leaders have come out of the program, right? You mentioned that. And that is a huge impact. So, having billions of dollars sometimes can be great. I guess you could do a lot of stuff, but to be honest with you, if you just have like human power and you have like not a lot of money, you could still make a massive impact, probably sometimes more than the billions of dollars. So I would definitely celebrate every win that you have had because it is well deserved, right?
Yeah, I receive it. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. I mean, I guess what I was speaking to was more so the fact of like, there's a machine that comes every year or that's been around and established for a long time that constantly perpetuates certain things that are detrimental and damaging to our community specifically. But I think in damaging in general though. And so what I'm saying is that is like the thing that is the swimming downstream, and all the people say, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. They're the ones that decide to go upstream. So it's like David and Goliath. But like you said, David made a major impact. David took out Goliath.
Down. I mean, come on.
It took out Goliath
with a stone. Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I received that. Thank you. And also, just knowing what things constantly perpetuate, these messages and images that young women specifically consume on a daily. And then Instagram makes it even worse. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's like before it's just kind of the music and you can turn it off. And now it's like 24/7.
It's constant. It's constant. Yeah, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Awesome. What a great conversation. And so now we're at that point where we're going to do a fill in the blanks. Are you ready? Ready to fill the blanks?
I am.
Okay. All right, cool. The first one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
To me, fearless freedom means standing in your truth, being authentic, and being able to share your authenticity and your truth with others. That's fearless freedom.
Love it. And then the next one is, if I am fearless, I will.
If I am fearless, I will tell my truth. I will tell my truth, no matter how hard it is. No matter how hard it is, I'll tell my truth. And be in integrity with myself.
Yeah, that's definitely very important. Very important. And then last but not least, my battle cry is
love yourself. All of yourself. Love you. Love you. Love you. Love you. Love you. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lacey, for being here on the show and sharing your amazing program, Phenomenally Everywhere. Phenomenally You.
Yes.
Definitely. Thank you for taking the time out to share and keep doing the amazing work that you're doing, because you are making incredible impact. And it's very important.
Thank you, Dr. G. Thank you so much, Dr. G. I appreciate being here, being fearless and free.
I love it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.